Hello to you all, it's Naomi here from the Stampin Stashes and welcome to part 2 of BAMP 2018. I hope you did okay with the first part where we did the basic pages. If you didn't see that one, you need to go back and watch that one because you need that for all of the following pages. Okay, so let's crack on. The things you'll need today, you'll need one of your basic pages that we made in the first workshop or lesson or tutorial. You will need a sheet of the cardstock that you're working with to make your pages. You will need 2 sheets of 12 by 12 paper. Now I'm using double-sided for the simple fact of I can use one sheet to do the whole of my basic page. If I just pull that up and show you. So I can cover this side, the back and the inside, and I can get 2 different looks of paper and only have to cut one lot of paper to do it. Okay, so double-sided if you can get it. You will also need whatever you're cutting with and scoring with, so I'm using a trimmer, my Stampin trimmer, which does both. And you'll need your choice of adhesive, and today I'm using PVA. Another thing that I advise having is post-it notes and a pencil. You don't have to have this, it's just sometimes I cut things and because they're similar width, height and width wise, sorry that sounded completely wrong, because the sizes, height and width are very similar, it can get a bit confusing as to which way up is which, so post-it notes help with that. So enough of me blabbering, let's get on. So the first thing we're going to do is you'll need your plain cardstock that you're cutting your pages with and whatever you're cutting with. Okay, as always, if you're in the group, and I do really advise that you are in the group, there will be cutting guides in there plus bonus material. So for this one, excuse the glare, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut this strip off here. So you need to cut so that the height of your cardstock, and then we've got it landscaped, is 6.5 inches tall. And as I showed you in the first video, oops, get that in place, 6.5 on the Stampin' trimmer is that long line there. Okay. Now I'm going to put my first post-it note on. This is the 6.5. So I'm just putting a post-it note on that says 6.5. Is that way. I'm going to turn that upside down. Right, the next thing we are going to do is cut a piece that is, and I'll show you on the guide sheet. So we've cut this bit off. Our next cut is 6 inches wide. We're going to cut down this line. Okay. So 6 inches. And that's our first piece. Now this is nice 6.5 inch edge. You can measure that just to be sure. Right. That's the 6.5 there. So I'm popping another post-it note on to remind me. We are not going to cut this piece. Okay. Okay, so going back to the first one, sorry if I've confused you a little bit. This piece measures 6.5 tall by 6 wide. Okay, so that's the height of it. Along your 6-inch edge, which is this one, we are going to score at 5¼ inches. Get that nice and straight. Okay. Score at 5¼ I need to change my blade. And then we're going to do the same again with this one. We are going to score at 5¼ and the reason I say to score at 5¼ is because it's easier to score, I find, with the bigger piece on this side than trying to get your little narrow strip of paper on this side and you've got all the big bit hanging off. It just gets awkward. So 5¼ and we're going to put those to one side. The next thing we're going to do is to start cutting DSP. So take your first sheet that you've got planned for covering your basic page. I can't show you the cutting guides for this one because I forgot to draw them up. That we will have those in the group. That I'll explain. So the first cut we are going to do is at 5 inches wide. Okay, it's 5 inches across, 12 inches high, and we're going to cut that in half so that that's 6 inches tall. Okay, so there's our first 2 pieces of DSP ready to go onto the basic page. The next thing we are going to do, the rest of this needs the cardstock, is we are going to cut to 9 inches tall. Okay, 9 inches. This that you do not need for this page, okay? Don't throw that away because we could use that later on for another page. Okay, so this piece is 9 inches from here to here, but we don't need it this wide, so we're going to trim it to 6 inches. I will try to remember when I'm editing to put some captions below so you know what cut I'm doing. So this is 6 inches, and again, don't throw that away, we may be able to use that later. And we're going to cut this in half to 4½ inches. And that is all of your cutting done to cover your base page. That covers this. Okay. Please don't race ahead and do all of your cutting for your base pages now that you know the measurement, because we are going to do some different techniques and some different things on each one as we're going through, and you don't want to mess up and miss out on those things really. So just do each week as we're going along and don't try and jump ahead. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to cut the DSP to go on the 2 pieces, these 2 pieces that we cut. So the first thing we're going to do is cut a strip that is 4 3/4 of an inch wide. So it's 4 3/4. And we're going to do another one like that. 4 3/4. And again, keep this bit, we can use it for something later on. Okay, so you've now got 2 pieces that are 4 3/4 by 12 inches, and we're going to cut those in half. So they're 6 inches. And the other strip, we're going to cut down to 6 inches. So we've got 4 pieces now that measure 4 3/4 by 6 inches. And of course mine are double-sided, so I've got 2 looks for the price of one. Okay, so we don't need the trim anymore or the cutting tools, you can put those away. You need one of the pieces that measures 5 inches by 6 inches, which if you line up all your base page, you'll see that's one of the bigger ones. Open up your base page, and the first one we're going to put down goes here. So you've got your binding strip is here, okay. Just going to apply some adhesive. Sorry, it's off camera. I have actually got that zoomed out as far as it will go. So just adding some TVA. If you're using tape or anything else, just put that on. Now when you put this piece down, it needs to go more towards your centre crease, and I'll explain why in a minute. Give yourself an even border. Okay, the reason why I said it needs to go more towards your centre crease is you don't want to end up centering it fully on the page and half your paper ends up under the binding strip. Okay. Now we're going to take one of the smaller pieces, and that will go inside here. And rather than have me talk you all the way through gluing down all the pieces, because it is fairly self-explanatory, I will speed up this part. Okay, positioning this bit is quite important. You need to first of all check which side your binding strip's on. So mine's here. So when I'm sticking this piece down, it needs to be more to this side. And this is what you should now have. Okay, so what we're going to do next is take the 2 pieces that you cut earlier, and you want your score line on the left hand side. Okay, take the smaller of the 2 pieces, and I'll show you where that's going to sit. So open up your base page, and your binding strip. This is why I said don't stick them down. And this is going to sit in here. So it's just inside your centre crease that your score line, I'll show you, I'll just fold that bit. Your score line is going to be inside your binding strip. Does that make sense? So it'll sit like this. Right, don't glue that in yet. What we're going to do is put the DST or pattern paper on, because it's a lot easier to do this inside bit while it's not attached. So I'm going to have that piece showing on the inside, so it's like that. Right, discovering double-sided pattern papers has saved me so much trouble. It means I can buy less cardstock, because a good double-sided pattern paper, each side will coordinate. So it literally is a matter of, that is two sides of one sheet, they coordinate. I haven't got to worry about matching up, I haven't got to looking for anything else. They will just work together, and I don't have to worry about mats between those if I wanted to load them on top of each other. So it's worth getting double-sided when you can. And with Stampin' Up, I've never had a problem with sides not coordinating with the ones that I've bought. And in case I didn't mention it before, this is painted with love. So I'll pop that down there. And then on the other side, and then we cut all four of these the same size, so I haven't got to worry about which bit goes where. So now I'm going to apply some adhesive along this thin strip. As I said, if you're a beginner, I really do advise using a wet glue like PVA or tacky glue, simply because it gives you a bit of manoeuvrability. Once you put down on tape, that's it, it's down, it's stuck, you can't shift it. Just making sure that stays flat, lining up the bottom. And then stick. Okay, so now you've got the flat, and at this point you can stick down your binding strip. And there's your first flat. Okay, so we'll put that to one side and we'll take your second piece. Now this is going to go on the back there to form another flat. So we do need to fold that along the crease. So that's ready to go. And once again we're going to stick down pattern paper. Right, so now we're going to apply some adhesive here, and that's going to stick down like so. I'm just going to line it up with the very edge of the page, making sure everything's nice and straight. And there you have your first page. See, this opens, this opens, and this opens, and this is the bit that we'll attach to the cover. So there you go, there's your first page all done. If this is your first time visiting, as I said at the beginning of the video, this is part of a series. This is your first time coming, this is part of an 8-part tutorial. We're doing a mini album containing 6 pages and a cover. It's using ribbon binding. If you haven't seen the first video or the intro video, please go back and have a look, especially with part 1, as that does explain how the basic pages go together. It tells you what stuff you're going to need to use for this album and a lot of other information. Don't forget, join the Facebook group, the Stampin' Stashes group, because there's bonus material in there for each of the tutorials that I'm doing. Any questions, any comments, any suggestions, anything you didn't like, please let me know in comments. I grow by learning. Okay, so even if you didn't like something, I don't mind if you let me know, so long as it's constructive. But thanks again for being here and spending some time with me. I'll see you all in the next video. Take care. Bye.